Labs on the Danforth campus vary a lot in their structure and their research focus. So it's pretty challenging to institute a broad behavioral change because what'll work for one lab might not work for another. And without clear metrics that identify what actually needs to change, it's pretty difficult to get lab members on board. And if they do change, it's hard to tell whether or not they've even made a difference. And labs are pretty much completely independent. They're run by one principal investigator, or PI, and this person can hire staff like a lab manager, a tech, or a senior scientist. And the PI might also accept trainees like postdocs, grad students, or undergrads. Now, the lab members mainly see each other as colleagues, and there isn't really a hierarchy between them. The only person who can really tell everyone else what to do is the PI. The PI is mainly driven by two things: publishing findings in their field and getting funding for experiments. For the past few years, funding's been pretty limited. The NIH, for example, only funds 1 in 10 grants they receive, so providing a little bit of money for research can be a strong incentive for PIs to tell their labs to be more energy efficient. So our proposal not only targets the PI, but also provides incentives for the lab members. Of course, the money the PI gets will benefit them too, but there are also opportunities for greater involvement, where incentives can range from free food to funded travel to conferences. So here's how it works. We install these current cost power meters in every lab, so we can monitor actual electrical usage by lab. This is pretty easy to do. The monitor is basically a transmitter and a receiver. The transmitter is installed at every circuit breaker. It's a small box that's connected to 3 current transformer clamps. The clamps fit over the main power cables to the circuit breaker, and they go on kind of like bracelets. See, these clamps, they form an electromagnetic field, and they can measure current passing through the field. So the receiver is a display unit where lab members can see their real-time usage. It's updated every 6 seconds. Once they're installed, we'd have to collect some baseline data. You'd only need a few months though, and then you can extrapolate an estimate of last year's electrical usage by fitting the baseline to the overall campus usage. Labs operate year-round and basically do the same sorts of experiments every day, so any fluctuations in electrical usage will be the result of temperature changes, and you can estimate those based on campus-wide fluctuations in electrical usage. After you've got your baseline, you tell the PIs that for the next 12 months, if their labs reduce their energy consumption, they'll get 50% of the cost savings back to the lab to be used on research. The idea is to get the PI on board, so they instruct the lab members to change. The second part of the plan, though, is designed to help them make that change. We'd like to start a group called the Energinators. You know, like the trough of a wave of energy. Anyway, the name doesn't matter. The group would be supported through the Office of Sustainability, and its mission would be to educate lab members about their impact on the environment and to give them tools to make their work more sustainable. The group would be made up of all sorts of people: grad students, postdocs, faculty members, lab techs and managers, basically anyone who's excited about sustainability and is interested in making a difference. They'd be modeled after a group at UC Santa Barbara that was featured in Science magazine in 2007. They'd do personalized lab assessments, where they'd go into a lab, identify the ways to make it more efficient without affecting experiments, and provide lab members with best practices. The group members would have to be pretty engaging, and they'd present their findings at lab meetings. Through these assessments, the group can provide an estimate of projected savings if the lab adopts the best practices. A typical medium-sized biolab can save about $6,000 a year, so the lab can get about $250 a month. That's enough money to pay for part of an experiment. Since there's such a wide variation in labs on campus, it's really difficult to estimate total campus savings. But if we can motivate a large percentage of our labs to change, we will certainly see an enormous cost savings and a reduced carbon footprint.